want to wait a few minutes. Denny, Jennifer, Gloria, Brian, Ray, Mary's ready, Angela, okay, we're ready. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome council and our tax administrator here tonight and all the residents that are watching us live YouTube. If you want to type something in just to say hello, even just so we know we do have communication. Just like to welcome everybody to the Committee of the Whole meeting of Walton Hills, Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 at 7:03 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are following Substitute House Bill 197 provisions that relate to public meetings and hearings during the COVID-19 pandemic. Second order of business is roll call.
Councilwoman Forever Miller. Here. Councilman Linville.
Present.
Councilwoman Allen.
Here.
Councilwoman Trulowski. Here. Councilman Spitznagel.
Here.
Councilman Weed.
Here.
All of council present, along with our tax administrator, Angela Rivera. Any comments from residents related to the agenda? And to the residents, if you can always add comments as we go along, a little tongue-tied. As we go through the items, at any time, Angela will interrupt us and say she has a question, and we're here to answer them, so. We'll start off with the legislation. The first piece of legislation, Resolution 2020-15, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a rollover year one of the consortium contract with Kimball Recycling and Disposal for solid waste and removal recycling services and to declare an emergency. We have a piece of agenda there relating to that rollover year, which is from August 1st, so we're already in the year, till July 31st, 2021, and that is reflective in that piece of legislation. The rest of the legislation, a lot of it was taken from the original one. That's another thing I put in the mailbox was the original 2015. Any questions on that? And I did give you Rob. I know that we had some discussion how the consortium felt. Rob did find his email trail from the other communities, the other three communities, which is Orange, Bedford Heights, Bedford, and then of course us to make the fourth one, where they talked about extending the agreement. So with that, any questions relating to that? Everybody?
No, Mayor Colgraf?
Yes.
I don't have any question related to the legislation, but I would like to introduce this
Okay, that's fine. For suspension?
for suspension.
Okay. And if you think it's something, we can always come back to it in the meeting. Okay, I'm going to move on to item B. Everybody good with that? Ordinance 2020-5, an ordinance authorizing and directing the fiscal officer to certify delinquent property maintenance charges, trash collection assessments, culvert repair assessments to the county auditor for collection and declaring an emergency. We did put that on for first reading, but I would ask for suspension tonight. We need to get that into the county, I think, by the 14th of September. Is that correct, Angela?
Yes.
If everybody's okay with that. I know both of these items for the residents, we did discuss these items in the COW meeting last Tuesday. So if there isn't much discussion, it's not because we haven't looked it over, or council, we did look it over and, you know, have discussed both of them. Who would like to introduce that for suspension?
I will.
Gloria? All right. Any questions from any residents relating to that, Angela? Okay. Did we have anybody
No questions,
type
comments?
in?
No.
Okay. All right. Item 5, I have on there, Recreation Community Life Event Discussions. This is something I put on there just to start talking to council about. As you know, we've been running that building, the Recreation Community Life Center now, I think, what, for 3 years, is it?
I think it became operational in 2008.
Yeah,
Late 17.
And as you know, that was a new thing to the village. We never had a rec center, we'll call it that, or similar to that. You know, a year-round building, and we do rent it out. And we also own the property next door that we sold. Well, as this thing has evolved, there's been some things that I have been talking to Carlene and Natalie about, and Carol when Carol was here. Some of the things, after a few years of being involved and running a facility, and also, well, Sandy, who is no longer with us, but Gary, who took over the position of renting it out for us and stuff. Some of the things that could be tweaked. And then there's also, after we sold the property, now we have a resident who lives next door, and also we own the property, we have residents in the development in Notting Hill there. And I don't know if any of you get any calls, I'm sure you do, like I do, from some of the residents. I know one of our council members lives close there, and so there's some things I've experienced there. Rented the hall this year, experienced some things, but have witnessed some things just as mayor and being involved. One of them is, and I'd like to have task Rob with this, I think we need more of a buffer on both sides and better signage. The family that bought the house has been very patient, but I can understand where they're coming from. There's a lot of times people pull in their driveway, go all the way up to the house, because there's kind of the two driveways are very close to each other. There's just a little bit of grass in between. The other thing is, when all the cars pull out, all those lights hit that house. And, you know, I've talked to Rob about it and stuff, and said, well, what would happen if we didn't own it and another facility owned it and that house was there? The difference is, before, the pastor of the church lived in the house. So those events that took place,
He was there.
that the pastor that lived there, that was part of their event. So there was no complaining, because that was their facility. He said, well, we'd probably ask, if it was a private entity, to put up some kind of buffer. They would need to. So, you know, as far as responsibility, I was just looking at it, it does fall on us. And the other thing is, talking with the residents, with having nothing in between, people are outside, they go in, they infringe on that neighbor's property sometimes. Nothing's ever been real bad problems, but just enough, you know, everybody wants their privacy and has a right to that. And it seems, especially when, you know, we're renting it out, even to non-residents, you know, there's been some issues. And so I know it's, you know, I'd like to get some quotes first, have Rob get some quotes. I talked to him, what would it be, a fence, would it be shrubbery? Him and Joe were going to look at it, Joe Gelati, more of a combination of both, you know, something aesthetically. And also on the other side, I don't know if anybody's gotten calls where if the parking lot, if stuff's left, the stuff goes into the neighbors in Notting Hill, okay? And we've even had it where sometimes they park in the development, all the way down the street and stuff. So with that said, you know, I didn't know that a lot of that was going on until, you know, you get in this position as mayor and you get different phone calls. And I didn't like that idea too much, you know, I mean, they park all the way down Notting Hill if there's a large event, you know, and I don't know if that's, you know, something for us to work on, and on my side, as far as, you know, if the church next door doesn't have an event, we can have overflow there, or some kind of, you know, some agreement with the gospel house, you know, for that. Or limit the size of things. So those are some of the things we're talking about. But I really think we really do need to consider a buffer on each side. It's our facility. It's a great facility. Our residents enjoy using it. Nothing but positive feedback. But we do get some complaints from the residents who border it. And we do have that responsibility. I think we can make that better for everybody. So I just kind of want to let you, you know, kind of throw that out tonight. The other thing would be signs. Try to get some better directional signs so people know, you know, not to go in the resident's driveway, you know. And that relationship's been working out well. They've been very understanding and stuff, but, you know, you can only poke the bear so long, and then people get upset, you know, and I don't blame them. I mean, I experienced it when you're up there, and if you're up there at night, every car that pulls out, boom, it hits it, you know, and there's just nothing there. And even on a safety wise, you know, there should be some kind of better separation, I feel. So that's something we're gonna look at, and might be bringing that to council as we move forward with that. So I know I met with Rob and Joe today about other things, and that was another thing we wanted to talk about. And, you know, he used the word light pollution, you know, which is kind of true. That's, you know, and constantly infringing. And if you have, you know, 100 cars, 150 cars, you know, right after another. Otherwise, it's been going well. It's the big thing has been the trash. Most people have been good. Natalie did tweak the contract a little bit already about when you rent it, about cleaning up, which people have been pretty good, but nothing in there was talked about the exterior, okay? There's been mornings when you go out there and it looks like people, you know, after a wedding or whatever, had a partial drink and just put it outside their car and then drove away, you know? And then if it turns out to be a windy day, it blows right in some, you know, our residents' yards. So I think we have some responsibility there, and I think we can make it better. And I think it will make the operation of it better too. It will prevent some of those people from going the wrong way. I think it just will be a good thing. Of course, there's going to be a cost to it, but maybe we'll see what we can do, you know, there or something too. Go ahead, Mike. This is just an open thing. Whatever suggestions anybody has, or
Yeah, Mayor Colgrave, I just have one comment, one thought, and that would be, while looking at the barriers, I think is absolutely correct, but also maybe taking a look at reversing the traffic pattern. Take a look at it, where you would come in the driveway that we currently go out, so that when the nighttime comes and it's time for the cars to leave, they would leave out of the Notting Hill side with a sign that says right turn only. So even if people come into the event center and the event center parking lot's full, there's a sign that says right turn only from the event center. They will not go up into Notting Hill to park. So just a suggestion, maybe we take a look at reversing the traffic pattern.
yeah, no, that's a good idea too, because that's the traffic, the lighting, you know, we can.
That, Mayor, if you'd refresh my memory, that going in to the facility, is that a 1-lane or 2-lane entrance? I think it's a 1-lane entrance. It's a 1-lane. Might be less costly to make that a 2-lane as Ray was saying, and not, and have that other side
Closed
not
off.
used as an exit at night. And as Ray said, have the other lane, the exit lane with a right turn only.
No, when you pull it, you're
There's
using
an
the,
entrance and an exit.
yeah, you're using
On
Notting
Notting
Hills
Hill.
entrance. It's,
It's
Oh, no, no,
It's-
I'm talking about the entrance into the parking lot itself,
Yes,
yes, okay.
not to Notting Hill.
right.
But when you go in, it's, they share the same, off of Alexander, they share the same road.
Correct.
Right,
I'm talking about pulling into the parking lot itself.
yes, is one way, right.
Is one way, one
Technically,
lane.
yeah.
It might be, you know, just to look at it, you know, have Rob look at it, make that a 2-lane.
But the one lane, where it's only one lane, is where it's next to the home, and that says exit only.
He means shut down that side, right, Brian?
Yeah,
Could
shut,
be-
or at least at night,
and
you know,
put an exit
have a
in.
barrier at night.
But the entrance into the parking lot off of Notting Hill is 2 lanes. We just did that because Rob and the guys did it for the bus
For the bus.
turnaround.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's right, it is
Yeah.
2 lanes.
Yeah,
So, you know, if we did something like what Ray said with right turn only and exit and block that off at night, people would have to go out that way and not go out by the
Or
house.
if you made that other driveway an enter only, you know,
Oh,
for the facility, next to
Yeah.
the residential driveway.
Yeah,
yeah, we need better signage, here, and we can look at that. Still need the buffers, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Because the people, especially on the residential side, you know, they do wander, they'll go out in the grass or whatever, if they smoke, or, you know, they just, you know,
right.
it's, and the big events, when you do have alcohol, a policeman is required, which is one of our officers, and they do a great job in keeping, you know, thing. We haven't really had any problems with the facility itself. It's just the operation of it with the, you know, with the
Right.
lighting and some of the garbage and stuff. Yes, go ahead, Gloria.
Oh, 2 things. When I used to belong to the book club at night, you could, when you go to turn into the facility, it's too dark. You're going into Notting Hill. You know, you
Yeah,
need
that's-
better something right there. And the parking lot in general, it's very dark. And the other thing is, for handicap accessible, they have a little patch about yay big, and there's a pillar right there. I'm sure there's a lot of people in wheelchairs and walkers that come into the facility for different occasions, that if there could be something built where it's flat, not that little spot, because I know myself, being a caregiver, that it's very hard to get a wheelchair. It just almost fits the wheelchair. And if you get off, you're in the grass and all the other stuff that's like there. So to widen that, you know, for safety purposes. And the lighting there is poor at night.
Yeah, what we didn't want to, you know, and well, the lighting we could always put on timer. What we didn't want to do, because I know we talked about that in the beginning, because at the same time we didn't want to light it up like an airport, because we wanted to keep the same feel for the residents in that area
Right.
that we all enjoy, is kind of that the country home district, you know, where it's darker, but at the same time you need to see where you're turning in and stuff. So, and now with lighting, it could even be more directional or something, so, yeah.
Markers, better markers at the street, just like you have the red ones, reflectors, something that, because inevitably you go into Notting Hills Road. You know.
Right.
You see a lot of people, and you see the disgust look to try to get out again. You know.
We're very fortunate, there's a very good buffer in the back, which does a good job with all the pine trees of separating the, you know, the parking lot there from the residential area there. It's just the 2 sides.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
It's also the residents across the street from there.
Yeah.
There's at least 7 homes that no matter which direction they're leaving the party center,
they get it too then,
for headlights are going across,
yeah.
you know, for how long, across how many different homes, depending on which way they're turning, left or right. It was discussed years ago when the community center was first bought, and it was proposed to the residents, especially on Alexander there, that some sort of greenery could be installed to help cut back on that, you know, like along the right-of-way or something for all of those residents.
But how would you stop the light, like, when you're coming down, you gotta make that left or right onto Alexander, so that's what you're gonna,
How has it been for the other church next door?
From the Hungarian church, they don't have that many facilities. They're not doing weddings for the last year or two,
right now
you
they're
know,
not,
and
right.
stuff. And yeah, and their functions are usually Sunday afternoons with their parishioners. But the barrier in the back, I hope is nice. I have had some residents say that they can hear, but everybody on Alexander, both sides of Alexander, it just echoes. It really
Yeah.
does. I mean, you hear the music, you hear, you know, people yelling and fighting, you hear bottles breaking, and sometimes it's like, holy moly, what's going on, you know, over there.
Well, you shouldn't, yeah, now that stuff like bottle, that shouldn't happen, I mean, that's in the parking lot. and
Yeah,
that-
but
that-
we get trashed too with the balloons
Right.
and the signs that are just left there when people leave. They leave their signs, you know, laying there, or crepe paper, stuff like that. It's,
So, yeah, and so and those are some of the things we're addressing. And some of the things I know Natalie's looking at as far as having somebody there for the events, you know, so that, there might be other things we'll be bringing to council. You know, it's a popular place because it's very reasonable. For our residents, it should be. But the rate for a non-resident isn't that much more than a resident. So we're looking at that, and that's something the Recreation Committee will probably be brought to look at that. You know, some of those, you know, not that we want all of a sudden, you know, sock it to the non-resident, but at the same time, it's very close to fees, and I think now that we got a good feel for it, you know, I think we should increase some of those fees maybe too, and that's something Natalie's looking at. Keep it the same for the residents, you know, that's our perk, that's our you know, that's our center, you know, and that should be one of the perks for the residents, keeping it reasonable. But I think it's only like $100 difference between the two. And there is a difference, you know, when a resident's there, it's a little different, you know, some people rent it one time and we never see them again. Most of the residents rent the facility and they're very worried, they want it just right because they want to come back, they want to use it again.
well,
So-
the resident would have more pride being that it's within their village, you know, within their
Right.
community and stuff too.
But with that, by charging more, we would get more, not just to charge more, but when I mean that for non-residents, including would be somebody maybe to come there, make sure the parking lot's cleaned up, take it, instead of, we put it on in the contract, it's on the person who rents it, and then they don't get their deposit back, because the deposit's not real big. Most people are like, let them clean it up, I just won't come and get my deposit, I'm okay with that. You know, so, yeah, we keep the deposit, but at the same time, we do have, you know, a parking lot that isn't where it should be. It's clean, and then we're clean up. So those are the kind of things we're trying to clean up here with that. And I think it was just a matter of doing business, you know, we're hearing what's wrong and what needs to be fixed. We got in this thing really not understanding it, now we've understand it. But it's been all positive besides those things. People enjoyed, our residents love the facility, like renting it, it's a beautiful place. So I think we just gotta tweak it. So as we move on, probably have recreation start looking at these items too. It was just something that in the last month or so has kind of come to a head on some of these items. So I wanted to start getting everybody thinking about it, and to ask Rob with looking at some buffers, the traffic flow and lighting. So, and anything anybody else comes up with, anybody experience anything else that they think besides that with the facility?
I just had another comment. I mean, I don't know what our ordinances are regarding on-street parking and in a cul-de-sac or residential area? Do we have the ability to put signage up that says residential parking only, or no outlet, or something to let people know that you shouldn't be just driving up in here?
Yeah, well, from what I understand, you can park, and when that has happened, people have made calls and the police went there and stuff, and everybody was, I think because usually it's a wedding or something, and people are very respectful and stuff. But that's something we can talk about. But at the same time, I think we need to have some kind of arrangement so they give an option. If we're going to say you can rent it up to this size, then at the same time, we should have the parking that accommodates it too. Which we do. Usually it's okay, but sometimes you get more people that are, like a wedding usually isn't too bad because usually there's 2 in a car, sometimes 3 in a car. It's when you get the events more sometimes where people are coming after work. Every person has a car, or if it's like a company event or something like that.
Mr.
But
Mayor,
yes,
maybe there could be something about dimming your lights. Everybody's old enough to remember drive-ins. When you drive in, you need to dim your lights, otherwise you shine them in the car. So maybe something, a sign that please dim your lights for respect of the homeowners, something like that. Not, most people don't read, but it's just something that might help.
yeah.
I do like the idea of possibly partnering somehow with the church next door for overflow parking, and that way you could have a mobile sign or something that says overflow parking here, rather than having people go on the street.
I would say, being there fairly often,
Yeah, like right across.
that the overflow parking like that, especially this year, has not been an issue as much.
Okay.
It has been in the past.
Right.
When there were some very large and what appeared to be at the time probably over occupancy of the facility even. So I don't know how much of an issue our homeowners on Notting Hill specifically are having with that, because that isn't something that I've noticed, not even half as much, or basically not at all this whole summer, with what's going on. But the noise and the echoing and the, things like that definitively, are a bigger issue and stuff for residents.
Yeah.
No. Well, I won't get into that. I did ask other people around there, but I was going to say, yeah, I only had 1 or 2 since I've been mayor. I was just surprised that, those things, more people are going to say something to you, Jennifer, as a council person, but when I became mayor, then, I had some people express about that, and I was like, I didn't even know they were parking back there, and I could understand that if that's, but at the same time, when I'm talking about that overflow, and that's where, if somebody has a larger event, maybe they have to pay for parking, those are the things we're looking at, or even pay somebody to make sure the cars get in the right direction, whether it's another, we have them, an auxiliary police officer or someone like that, which just keeps a little more of the peace too, that was another thing, I was thinking in my head is, and people have mentioned too, if we did have, an event, if there's an event, then that would go into their fee, they would have to pay for that, to just, like when you rent the hall, you automatically have a Walton Hills police officer, and that you have to pay for that, and that works out well. So if we do go to an overflow, we couldn't just expect we'd have somebody, at least directing them or telling them where to go, so that.
Or maybe it could even be giving the person who wants to rent the facility, here is the phone number for the Hungarian church, here's the phone number for the gospel house. If you would like to try to make arrangements for overflow traffic, but just so you know, there is absolutely no parking for the event center on Notting Hill. Right.
Well, the only thing with that, we all know, then everybody's going to say, oh, I'll be fine, and then all of a sudden they get there and, It is where if they say they're gonna have, I'd rather have, if they say they're gonna have somebody, guess what? You're gonna have to, this is included, you just pay for it. You know, and that way we know it's taking place. Because if you know what I mean, if you say that, oh, I'll be fine, and then all of a sudden they're we do pretty well because you can park on the grass and stuff. But with that said, because I've heard some events they parked on the grass, and then that gets littered up too. That's why I think a barrier would help too.
Yeah, torn up. And
You know, that's where the separation is, because there is an area on both sides that's where they have parked on the grass when you've had too many. You probably know that, Jennifer. And it works out nice. It's the village property, you know, it's part of that, and it's right there. But if there was a buffer, it would keep a little more separation too. And you hate to add on to the parking lot, you know, it's nice having some greenery around it too, you know, and that grass and just kind of. So as you go in and out of it, if you see anything that you think we can improve and stuff, we'll be talking about it. And Gloria, you're chairman of the recreation, probably, I'm sure you'll be meeting with Natalie as we move forward with this and just kind of see where we're at. We're just kind of, there's some things, you know, and we just got a good feel for it now. Just a lot, Carlene and Carol, and with Carol being gone, she was getting a good feel for it, Carlene, and Natalie getting a good feel for it, and I myself too, and probably everybody here, now that it's been up and running a while, we kind of know what's good and what's bad. We hear from the residents and stuff. So I think we can make it better. I think that's what we need to do.
Mr. Mayor, when they were talking about, and they did widen that driveway for the Cuyahoga Heights bus,
Yes.
I had a conversation with Rob and asked him, how come you widened this driveway instead of just putting in another driveway at the back of the parking lot, so you would have one entrance and one exit? Rob said, well, that wasn't what he was directed to do. And not that I would want to incur more expense for the village, but would that be a possibility, and take that other driveway next to the residential property completely out?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I think at the time we talked about it, it was trying to solve the problem, of course, with the least amount of funds.
Right.
That's what it was about. I mean, we can look at it and we can get a quote for it. It never hurts. I just know that's where because we wanted to accommodate the bus and stuff. Yeah, do you want more traffic on that way, or are you better off, at least you're, you know, I don't know, splitting it a little bit. But let's look at that. I'll have,
Well, I think that side driveway, like Ray, I believe, said, being an entrance only next to the residential property would probably cut down quite a bit for them. Because most events are going to start before dark. You know, so if that's an entrance only instead of an exit only,
right.
just change that traffic pattern that way. Would be one
Yeah,
of the
I'm
least
gonna-
expensive ways.
I'm going to have them look at that. Okay, any other questions on that? I just kind of wanted to get the ball rolling with that. Okay, item 6 is, any questions from residents related to that? Okay. Is there people on?
Yeah,
Okay,
we lost one, but there's people.
good.
We lost one.
Okay. All right, item 6 is, I wanted to just keep it on the agenda, discuss upcoming legislation for Dunham Road reconstruction and Crick and Hannon Parkway. Next week, we have a council meeting. The bids will be open for Dunham Road and Tinkers Creek this Friday, the 11th, okay? And at that time, Joe and Rob will look at those bids. They'll give us a recommendation, the engineer, on which bid they feel we should go with. And of course, we will look and make our decision too. As a body, council, you'll make a decision with that. And I know there's questions about the financing it, whether, how we're going to bond it out, the timing of it. Also, at that time, with the bid, opening of the bids, not only will tell us who bid on it and who we're gonna, we'll get our recommendation, have legislation. It'll also have the schedule at that time and give us a good idea on probably how we're gonna draw it, how we're gonna pay for it as we move along. And I know we've been talking about bonding it out. So I think what would be best, if everybody's in agreement, have a COW meeting. We're having the council meeting. There's not really gonna be a lot on there, just those two pieces. We passed these two tonight. We would have Dunham Road, Tinkers Creek legislation, and then the Crick and Hannon Parkway legislation. So I thought we would have a COW meeting before that meeting, and we can kind of go over finances, be able to look at the legislation, and I can have Joe here for that. Angela should be ready, and her and Katie will discuss anything, or if you have any questions, get it to us, or Angela or Joe, or you guys can call them or call me, and I'll get, as much as we can get ironed out before the meeting. And then COW meeting, I can have the engineer here, and be prepared to answer the financial end of it, how we're gonna finance it. Hannon Parkway and Crick Road, we can pretty much go over. That's some of that grant money we received. We can go over that pretty much. But Dunham Road and Tinkers Creek, we can spend time in that COW meeting and I think get most of the questions answered. And if everybody's comfortable, we could pass that legislation. That time frame of us passing it was something we put on there just because we'd like to get the project started for this year and finishing up next year. With that said, I wanted to, I thought this was interesting. We were talking, me, Joe, and Rob, like I said, met this afternoon, and we were talking about those projects. And he didn't know exactly who, well, he has an idea to bid on the jobs. You got to request the bid documents. I think they charge $100, $150. So he has a pretty good idea who requested them, but you never know who turned it in till you open the bids, who actually exactly bid on it. But what was interesting, most of who bid on it wasn't asphalt pavers, mostly concrete companies. Most of the work is concrete related, okay, believe it or not. Most of it is repairing the existing road, which is concrete, widening it, which is concrete, and then the asphalt is just to top it, really. So I just wanted to share that with you. I thought that was interesting. That's really mostly concrete companies, he felt, are bidding on the project, and then they'll probably maybe even contract out in their package or whatever. I mean, it would be under them, the asphalt part. But most of them, he said, because I said, do you know any of the asphalt? It was all, Mayor, it's mostly kind of, from what I understand, just looking at who pulled documents, because most of the work would be done by a concrete company. So just kind of interesting. Just wanted to make that point. But let's talk about, yes, go ahead.
One of the points I'll make, prior ahead of our discussion next week about the finances is that Joe and I talked at length, and the contractors will only be able to invoice us once a month. So we will be paying on a once-a-month basis, and no more than that, maybe even they choose to not invoice it in 1 month, and maybe they want to section it out. But we would never have more than one in a month, and so that will also play a part in the financials.
And I guess, well, we can, I know me and Ray just talked a little bit before the meeting, so any questions you have relating to how we're gonna bond it out, I mean, be able to answer them here, but even ahead of time, we were talking about the length of the bond, how long, and different if there's a minimum, so just anything related to it. Because it is, we're going to be financing $705,000 roughly. We'll know for sure what that amount is on Friday, So, but I'm sure it's going to be right there.
So what time is the bid opening on Friday?
I have
12 o'clock.
Is that here? Where is that?
Yeah, usually out in the courtyard, Joseph.
Oh, in the courtyard.
Like between the two buildings. That's usually where Joe's at when they open.
Okay, we can get back to that. Any questions? Well, we can get back to that. Let's talk about Crick and Hannon Parkway. As you see, Joe sent a memo to that. I kind of gave you a couple here, but those bids were opened up, okay? So he is going to recommend CA Agresta Construction for the concrete repair program and NES Corporation for the asphalt repair program. And those are in here. The concrete, as you know, the concrete repair program for the $150,000, that covers all construction costs. The asphalt repair is for materials. So we got those documents in front of us here. So we're going to be responsible for the cost of the labor on the asphalt. On the NES part of it. Does he have that broken out here?
$13,250?
I'm sorry, what was that, Jennifer?
Is that $13,250 that we'll be responsible for over the grant?
Well, the total,
Correct. We're gonna get 45 back in materials.
right. Yeah, and that's what he has there, okay, that's what he did, all right, yep, that's all the materials. Leak detector repair, yep.
But it doesn't look like it's going to cost us anything with the concrete work, because
No.
we are eligible up to $150,000.
That is correct,
And the project's almost $105,000.
that is correct.
Yay.
And also in that packet is the actual projects themselves, the contract. Now, he did tell me this about CA Agresta. They're ready to go. The way their schedule works, the way he told Joe, is this is a good time for them. They would, as soon as we award the contract, they would be ready to start. NES, he was following up with them on that. They have number of days to complete. Earliest start, they have 9/15, so they're ready to go too. You know, they're pretty close. It's a week away. So.
You only have so much time here in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah.
Right.
They
Don't say that, Mary.
asphalt down.
Don't say that. And then Dunham Road, like we said, would be, they open the bids, and then we'll have more for it. So I think it'd be best, I'll have Joe here, and we'll have the COW meeting, and then we'll have the council meeting for those two pieces of legislation. Right now, we don't have any other legislation for,
Are you gonna put up on Dunn's?
oh yeah, it would be 3 because, you're right, I'm thinking those two, they're both separate. Right, they're both separate. Yeah, it would be one for the asphalt, one for the concrete repair, and then Dunham Road. Yeah, I'm thinking that those two, that Crick and Hannon are one, but they're not, two separate. So there would be 3, and as of right now, I think that's it. There's nothing else in front of us.
If Lisa's done procuring bids on that, I'll let you know. She's going out for bid on snowplow contract.
There you go, Mary. So now you started it. Now we're gonna be passing this snow bid contract. I liked it better when it
I'm
was
sorry, we
the,
can wait and not talk about that.
when it was the grass
Let's
cutting.
just call it the Sharpsky Yeah, because you're really gonna probably be going with a bid, and then there you go.
Yeah.
Whatever service is needed.
That's all I have for those two items there. For thing, any other business we can talk about? Anybody? We have a planning commission meeting here tomorrow at 7 o'clock, and it will be YouTube. If not any other business, I'd ask for an adjournment, and we can move into our council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adjourn the COW meeting of September 8th, 2020.
That's 7:48.
7:40.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ray Whedon. Vote on the motion.
Councilwoman Brenna Miller?
Yes.
Councilman Linville?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trelowski?
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Is everybody ready? Does anybody want to take a break, or are you ready to go right into the council meeting? Everybody ready? Okay. Just get this in front of us here. Okay. We're all ready? Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to the special council meeting of Walton Hills, Ohio, Tuesday, September 8th, 2020, at 7:49 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are following Substitute House Bill 197, provisions that relate to public meetings and hearings during the COVID-19 pandemic. Roll call.
Councilwoman Brenna Miller?
Here.
Councilman Linville?
Present.
Councilwoman Allen?
Here.
Councilwoman Trelowski?
Here.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Here.
Councilman Weed?
Here.
All council present, along with our tax administrator, Angela Rivera. Reve, right? I got to get it right one of these times. Reve. Legislation here. We went through the legislation. I'll read it. We just went through it in our committee of the whole. But in front of us is Resolution 2020-15, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a rollover year one of the consortium contract with Kimball and Recycling Disposal Incorporated for solid waste removal and recycling service and declare an emergency. Any questions on that before I ask for somebody to introduce that? We all good with that? Ray, would you like to introduce that for
Yes.
suspension?
Mayor Colerath, members of council, I'd like to introduce for suspension resolution number 2020-15, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into rollover year one of a consortium contract with Kimball Recycling and Disposal, Inc. for solid waste removal and recycling services and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Second by Denny Linville. Vote on the suspension.
Councilwoman Brenna Miller?
Yes.
Councilman Linville?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trelowski?
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed?
Yes.
Suspension passed, 6-0. Can we ask for approval?
Mayor Colerath, members of council, I'd like to request approval of resolution number 2020-15, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a rollover year one of the consortium contract with Kimball Recycling and Disposal, Inc.
Is there a
Second.
second by Denny Linville?
Councilwoman Brenna Miller?
Yes.
Councilman Linville?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trelowski?
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed?
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2020-15 passed, 6-0, thank you. Ordinance 2020-5, which is an ordinance authorizing directing the fiscal officer certified delinquent property maintenance charges, trash collection assessments, and culvert repair assessments to the county auditor for collection and declared emergency. We been discussing that. We discussed it at the last meeting. We also discussed it at the COW meeting prior to the special council meeting. Any questions on that? Okay, Gloria, would you like to introduce that for suspension?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to introduce ordinance 2020-5 for suspension, an ordinance authorizing and directing the fiscal officer to certify delinquent property maintenance charges, trash collection assessments, and culvert repair assessments to the county auditor for collection and declaring an emergency.
Second.
Councilwoman Bremer Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Chakowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Okay, suspension passed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Gloria.
I'd like to ask for adoption of ordinance number 2020-5.
Second.
Councilwoman Bremer Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Chakowski.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Weed.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2020-5 passed 6-0. Thank you, everybody. Before I ask for adjournment, anything else? We'll have, as we talked about earlier, we'll have a COW meeting next week before our council meeting. As of right now, we'll have those 3 pieces of legislation. One piece will be for the asphalt repairs in the Crick and Hannon Parkway area, also for the concrete repairs in the Crick Road and Hannon Parkway area. And those are part of the community development block grant. So those are, and the other one is from the county also. And then we'll have legislation for Dunham Road and the Tinkers Creek reconstruction too. Before that meeting, when we have our COW meeting, I'll see if Joe can be here. I'm pretty sure him or Don will make it, and we can talk about the bid and his recommendation, and then we can go over the financing of it too, and we should be good. And anything else that comes, if there's something else, like the snowplow bid or something, it might be somewhere to add. We're going to try to get the agenda out, Thursday or Friday. It's, we got it out Thursday. It makes a difference. I know it gives you more time and stuff. Any questions related to any of that, as you all know, feel free to call whoever you think, could answer. You could always call Joe too, or Don. Joe's mostly familiar. Rob is familiar with it too, but Joe's got a pretty good handle on it. That's been his project. After we open the, the bids and get the schedule down, then we're going to meet with Maple Heights and discuss, moving forward, how to do that, how we're going to get paid from them and stuff too. So I want to have some preliminary discussions maybe with Joe before our meeting too, maybe to help that. That might be something that just come out of that too, We are the lead in that project, so if anybody doesn't have anything else, we can ask for adjournment and see some of you tomorrow and some next week.
Just a quick thing, since Joe's going to be here, maybe we could just mention about the recreation, about what could be done to the homes that are across the street, something for the headlights. If he knows of something or seen other facilities or in his line of work, just to keep it in his mind, so when we start talking about it.
Yeah, what I can do is I can put that same item on the agenda and see if they, if they get a chance to research something or whatever. Whether Rob will have any bids or anything, I just really kind of this afternoon tasked them when we've been talking about it, but they're going to take a good look at it. But yeah, we can do that, Gloria.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
how is that problem going to be corrected?
Which problem is that?
The lights coming from the parking lot, I guess, is what we're talking about?
Well, the going out, Denny, that is something, I don't know, that's something to look at, but going, coming in and stuff and going out where the residential house is, when you go out, you run right into that. going out like we talked with Jennifer, you know, her living across the street, going out and making the left, I don't know, I guess they had some suggestions of some buffers before. So on the side, Rob mentioned, and Joe today, that it would probably be a combination of some fencing and shrubbery or some trees or something like that. Would be a combination of the two. You know, if you notice the side between the resident, the single-family house, that resident, and I think there's nothing there. I mean, it's, you know, and it's nice when no one's there, but when there's a party, people go over there, they, you know, a lot goes on.
Just even normal conversation, it travels, the sound travels, you know, and if you're
Yeah.
laying in bed, just normal, you know, people walking out to the cars conversing, it does travel. I don't know if there's any, probably Joe Gelati or Don Sheehy would know if there are any types of grants to green that area up with trees, shrubbery, things like that, from forestry or whatever. But that would be an option to at least look at.
I would say the noise there too, the music especially. I don't know if that's DJ dependent or if it's just more pronounced when they've got possibly doors open, you know, because the wedding tends to get warm, things like that. But there's times when, yeah, the noise, there's been fights over there, you know, and stuff too.
Well,
You
stop
could- you could
fighting.
hear.
Go break it up.
I try to, but. But there's almost any party that's been up there, I have noticed this summer, Walton Hills police car.
Interesting. How is, Mayor, do we know offhand how the bookings for the place have increased or stayed the same, or? I think they've increased.
Well, yeah, we had a lot drop off this year, of
Well,
course,
sure,
because of
this
the-
year, but
the
yeah.
pandemic, but it's increased for next year because people are rescheduling.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So there's no doubt that that's, yeah. It does well. A lot of it's our residents, but there's a lot of non-residents too. You know, and I think that's because it's a good deal. You know,
You could tell when it's non-residents, because most of them are pulling out of Notting Hill and all turning left, or they're coming from that direction, so.
Mhm.
yeah. But I think we can make things better there. I think there's, and not just, it would be better for everybody, not just the resident, you know, the neighbors bordering it. It will be better for the facility too. I mean, it's a win-win, you know, for people getting, nobody wants to pull in someone's driveway, you know, and, you know, nobody wants to do that. You know, I mean, you know, everybody's been nice. Nobody wants to pull in someone's driveway and come out and you feel, you know, nobody wants to do that. So there's some things that need to be corrected there, you know, where they pull into the neighbor's driveway and stuff like that. So it's better it will be better for everybody all the way around, so. Yeah. Okay. Anybody, anything else?
No.
Okay, just to let everybody know, we'll be having a COW meeting, residents know, a COW meeting next week, along with our regular scheduled council meeting. There will be a planning commission meeting tomorrow at 7 o'clock. That meeting and the agenda is on the village website and the village Facebook page. So, and the link is there too for joining it, YouTube. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
May I make a motion that we adjourn at this time, 8 p.m.?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote on the adjournment.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller?
Yes.
Councilman Linville?
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trelowski?
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Bee.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Special council meeting adjourned at 8:02. Everybody everybody have a good weekend.
You too.
You gotta get through the week first.
Yeah. Well, remember, it is shorter. Tomorrow's Wednesday already.
Right.
Kevin, are we off or are we?